Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. It's going to be an action-packed show. I haven't even really done an agenda today. I don't think the weekend's football needs an agenda and everything that's gone on. We've got a great panel for you. Chatty Patty is back with us. We've got man like Will. We've got Don in the house. We have Kunle. We've got Henry Talks Bollocks with us today. And we've got man like David all here to review the weekend's football, have a little bit of a chit-chat. We're starting off, though. Before we get into the football, I did want to spend 5 minutes. David Coote today, gentlemen, has been sacked. The PGMOL have dismissed him. And they've essentially said, I'm paraphrasing here, we reviewed everything he did. We think he took the absolute piss. There's no way we can keep him on. With immediate effect, he's sacked. But they ended the statement with, but we're going to try and take care of his welfare. Which I think is just a line to say if anything bad happens to him, we're not taking accountability. But David Coote has gone, correct decision. Just thought we'd have a brief sort of review of that because it was a big talking point for a few weeks on here. The correct decision to dismiss him after the video, the white powder situation, allegations of, I mean, turns out they're true, I've heard, that, you know, texting fans before and after games about yellow cards, plus some other weird shit, like drinking games half naked and all sorts. But the right thing to get rid of David Coote?
Facts, bro. Facts, man. It's all about integrity, innit? And when you're seeing a guy in such a role which has a lot of responsibility, you know what I mean, where managers are losing their jobs and, you know, things happen to players where they're getting sent off and things like that, bro. You can't be having this guy going back to work. Like, from time, yes, what he does in his spare time in terms of the drugs and that. And I'm even surprised, Terry, that refs don't get drug tested because it happens to footballers, but they're working within that industry, bro. I would have expected them to get drug tested at least. You know what I mean? But when you're seeing all these things, you know, how he was talking about Klopp, it's very, very hard to justify bringing him back because it's like, we're not going to trust the PGMO anymore. Because it's like, how can you bring this guy back after everything we've just seen, after everything we've just read about him? And it's peak for him because the people around him obviously were blackmailing him and maybe he would stop paying them or something. You know what I mean? and they released all this information. But there's no way they could bring him back after everything, bro. No way. No way, man.
And Don, the reality is that this shows that I think the PGM are pissed more than anything that it's come out because they know that all this stuff is happening. It's not that this is not news to them. They're like, oh, shit. Now we got to do something about it. We got to sack him. That's what the reality is because there's no way this is news to all of them. Yeah. They can't tell me that's the first time that they've heard this.
But you don't think that it probably benefits them though, because now it's like this is a way for them
to make a statement like, like
as in like we're not corrupt, we're gonna fire him. Now he was always gonna be cooked. Especially, I feel like after the video came out about him talking about Klopp, before all the other stuff came out about the drugs and the other details that Terry was given, I thought he was gonna get fired just because of that comment alone. Because now you have like a massive club. And their fans are going to be on to you, right? So I just felt like they were always going to save face, and he was always going to be fired.
Yeah, as in the statement, it just says untenable, which I thought was like, he just can't come back. He can't. Imagine he reffed the Liverpool game; they'd all be like, hang on, he's like, he just can't do it.
Yeah, I'm glad they've kind of said that because I know I call them out a lot, but I have to because they're meant to be the ex-pros with the inside knowledge that sort of give us more than what we can see just through watching a game of football or reading a newspaper. But the way I saw the likes of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, the whole overlap team, which is essentially Sky, back him, the way I saw the amount of media, talk sport, the way I saw all the sort of, a lot of the written press, but a lot of the sort of televised press kind of defend him. Does it really show that he can't do his job professionally, etc., etc.? I'm so glad the PG, I'm not giving the PGO much credit here because I still think an independent review needs to take place. I still think there needs to be an element of an independent body comes in and investigates that whole entire organization. Because as you say, it's very easy to scapegoat to a degree David Coote, whether he deserves to be sacked or not, make a big noise about how you have zero tolerance for this behavior. And maybe that makes everybody stop looking at other bits and pieces. You've seen it already you look at Hollywood as an example. Every few years, they'll throw one of their own under a bus. But then then it all comes. Well, hang on a minute. Harvey Weinstein's been thrown under a bus, but it turns out 85% of people that work with him knew he was doing this. That makes, in my book, that makes them as guilty. But they throw one under the bus, and the rest of them carry on making movies. I feel like a lot of that happens in all level, any kind of business where there's millions and billions of pounds involved. I think this type of thing, in one way, shape, or form, goes on. So it's good they've done it, but I don't think football fans should be letting it go. I think the media should be becoming very intrusive into the PGMOL. But we'll see what happens from this point.
Do you think it's gonna come out on a everyone's gonna get it now? Yeah, come out and start doing podcasts talking about,
See,
I need to hear my truth.
Yeah,
I mean,
if the PGMOL and everyone the bus. It won't just me.
They might do, but if the PGMOL was smart and sensible, they would turn around. I don't know what he gets paid a year, 200 grand or something. They'll turn around and go, look, they've got the money, by the way. There's £500,000. There's £1 million. Here's an NDA. You break that. That's what they've got to do. I think they'll end up being paid off to some point. But what you will see is he'll be on Dancing on Ice or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in a few years. He'll start doing the after dinner circuit, telling certain stories. This is why when people say, what about his income? He'll get a really good golden handshake. He'll get reality shows. There's a lot of money in after dinner speaking. Yeah, I don't know if he'll throw everybody under the bus because he'll probably want some kind of work one day. That means he has to still be kind of friendly with them, if that makes sense. But yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. If I was him, I would be on Sky Sports tonight, like right now. I would be live right now, like
outing everybody.
Oh, of course. Like I'd have set up a YouTube video the minute that they fired me. I'd have had my channel and my live stream ready. Of course.
In this
I'm going down by myself. Yeah, crazy.
just write some bars, put a nice beat behind it, put some auto tune. Hit this record.
You could, yeah. Call it White Lines. You know what I mean? What the album?
You just created it.
Crossing the white line, you could call it. Do you know what I mean? It could work. It'll make some money. But yeah, listen, it's the right. All jokes, it's the right thing to happen. I'm glad that they've acted. But for me, my eyes are still firmly. I mean, even with decisions yesterday, there was 2 red cards that probably should have happened in the game, and it's just sort of today because of all the craziness over the results of the weekend. Nobody's really focusing upon it at all, and it should get some attention. But viewers, look, always want your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this. When it comes to people getting sacked, though, Henry, Chatty Batty, is it coming? Just like the great Boys to Men once said, is it come to the end of the road for Big Ange and Tottenham after what was another shattering defeat, another comeback for an opponent, 19 defeats in the last 40 Premier League games, a team where many Spurs fans thought 10 games into last season you could go on to win the league or at least become a Champions League outfit again, and now it feels like you're kind of firmly cemented this season into sort of mid-table. Talk to me, gents. Talk to me.
Go on, Pat, you go first because I'm just human.
I was waiting for you to go. I can't lie. I was waiting for you to go. But you know what? The context behind it is, as you lot all know on here, all the football fan, purists, TFT purists that have been here from day one. I never wanted Ange. He wasn't my guy from the beginning. 6/6, 2023. I remember clearly the day he got appointed. I put the tweet out and I'll read it verbatim so that no one misquotes me. I said, so disappointing, so underwhelming, so uninspiring, so Brentford, Crystal Palace or Fulham FC. And before you tell me to back the manager, that goes without saying. I always want what's best for my club. Hence why I'm so disappointed with the C-class gaffer. And I got slated by Spurs fans. I do a lot of podcasts. I'm on the Football Terrace. I'm on Last Word on Spurs and a lot of other shows. And they was like, oh, how can you say this? How can you be so negative? Yada, yada, yada. And I was like, listen, I'm just going off of what I've seen, looking into him. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. Yes, he's won leagues in the leagues that he's been in, but with all due respect, he's pretty much had the best team in that league. And the way he sets up, when I've seen him against the bigger and better clubs in the Champions League, the guy's so open, so gung-ho, and it's always come back to bite him. Lo and behold, he gets appointed and he has a good start. A lot of Spurs fans went crazy and was like, yeah, we're going to win the league with this, with that. I was like, okay, let's just see how it pans out. And, if you put it into context, he had a decent first season. to implement a new style of play, to bring in all the players that he brought in, to completely change the way Spurs are set up. You can say that's admirable. And, he had a decent... We should have really finished in the top 4, considering the points that we threw away. But you give him that, finish 5th, and you crack on. This year, it's a shambles, and the stats are shambolic. Whatever way you want to look at it and dress it up, he's been piss poor. This year, we played 15 games, won 6, drawn 2, lost 7. So that's a 40% win rate. At the moment, obviously, we're 11th on 20 points. If you break it down, that's 1.33 points a game. If you times that by 38 games, which is obviously in a season, that takes you to about 50 points. I looked at this properly like today. I've really done my research on this. If you look at the last 3 years, 50 points takes you to 10th, 11th, and 11th. So we're essentially a mid-table team now. We're playing like mid-tablers. And if you look at just how we've played and how we set up, it's awful. Like Terry said, 19 losses in our last 43 Premier League games, 9 losses in our last 13 away games. It's just... whatever way you look at it, whatever way you want to dress it up, it's piss poor. But the only reason why I'm not Ange out is because I just don't see the point of sacking him right now. I feel you've got to see this project out. When he was appointed, I said I would back him and I'd stick with him. And to be fair, I just don't see... I mean, Daniel Levy's position is untenable. No matter what happens next, unless Ange turns it around and we win something, Levy's done. Levy knows this was the last roll of the dice. You went for, pragmatic managers, the win now managers, it didn't work. You've then gone the complete other way and gone for an attacking manager that literally abandons every other principle and philosophy to attack. And it's not working. I mean, we were 2-0 up yesterday against, we were 2-0 up. If you look at it and take away everything that's going on, I know they say form goes out the window in a London derby, but Chelsea came into that game in good form. We were obviously on the ropes. We were rocky. We were 2-0 up in the first 15 minutes. No matter your principles, no matter your philosophies, all you have to do for the next 10 minutes is sit back and absorb, obviously, the pressure. They're 2-0 down. They have to attack. They have to try and get back into the game. And then you can essentially just pick them off on the counter. But all we did is completely just go against everything that any decent and smart manager would do. And we just threw all of our players up. We've got Sonny and Yodoji inverted. They're literally sitting on each other's arse. The midfield was completely... It was crazy. Every time Sancho and Cole Palmer got the ball, it was literally 1v1 or 1v2. You've got... I'd say Cole Palmer's a world-class player right now. Jadon Sancho was a good player, obviously trying to find his way back. You've got 2 very good players running at you time and time again. Sooner or later, they're going to find, they're going to pick that pass or find that bottom corner. And lo and behold, both of them did. And it's just like, as a manager, how can you not manage a game? Part of your ethos, part of why you're brought in is to manage games tactically, react to what's going on. Enzo Maresca could see things weren't working, and at halftime he made changes. This motherfucker never makes changes. He never adapts to what's going on. And obviously, this is why we lose games where we should see them out. Brighton, we were 2-0 up. We ended up losing that game. Yesterday, we were 2-0 up. We ended up losing the game. It's embarrassing, man. And I said it from day one. So for me, I'm not surprised. But obviously, it's frustrating. And you expect after finishing 5th last year to push on. This team is now molded in his image. You've got all the players in that he's co-signed, he's bought, he's got rid of the players he didn't want, yada, yada, yada. And when you look at it, there's only 3 teams in the Premier League that have lost more games than us right now. I'll repeat that. There's only 3 teams in the Premier League that have lost more games than us right now. That's Southampton with 12 losses, Wolves with 9, Ipswich with 8. We're sitting on 7 losses. We're only in early December. It's mental. So there's no way you can really dress this up. But for me, the only reason why I'm not screaming Ange out right now is because I just don't understand or see the point of it. I feel we've got to see it through. Unless like we're sitting like 18th or 19th, we just got to see out the season and see what happens. Somehow he may luck a cup. Somehow we may have a decent run in the Europa League and win something. But as it stands right now, like nothing really is positive at the moment.
Listen, I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. I understand the frustration. There's no doubt about that. Henry, how do you see it? I mean, you look at yesterday's game, and yes, we could sit there and break the game down, which we did on the match reaction show. We can, but I think that's been done before. The lack of midfield, bringing back centre-backs that may or may not be fit for the game, going 2-0 up. But listen, you pressed well, got a little bit of luck with the mistakes from Chelsea and the slips from Cucurella. But to not be able to see that out at home, I mean, it is. I'm not saying getting rid of Big Ange fixes Tottenham altogether and you become a world-class team, but is he still a big problem in terms of winning the actual football matches with the squad that he's got?
Yeah, I would argue so. Any other manager in the Premier League at 2-0 up at home against the top scoring team in the league that are in that good form, any fucking manager would go to a pragmatic approach. What does he do? He crosses his arms and just do we are, mate. There was so much space in and around that defence yesterday, you could have built a house. Our fullbacks aren't fullbacks, they're midfielders. And if you want to know what the most Spursiest moment of the season is, we bring both our centre-backs back and they both get injured again. And they're now both out for the Southampton and Rangers game, which means we go into the Rangers game with a centre-back pairing of Archie Gray and Radu Dragusin because Ben Davies is injured. Now, if a new manager comes in, are the results going to improve? Maybe. But the long-term problem is that a manager only lasts 18 months throughout Levy's entire tenure because they never, ever, ever get proper resources. Look at Chelsea, right? Everyone was calling them billion-pound bottle jobs. No one's saying shit now. I've not heard anyone talk about the money. Enzo Maresca has managed 78 games in his career, but he's got play styles. He's got different formations. The way that he grilled Madueke the other day, he did it at the perfect time because they were on a high. We've seen other managers rip them, drag them through the mud, just like Ten Hag did with Sancho. He has got them firing on all cylinders. Yes, you can talk about how great their squad is. But if that's Brentford, if that's Fulham, if that's Bournemouth, and you're 2-0 up, you protect the lead. I wouldn't trust Ange Postecoglou walking my fucking dog, let alone bloody holding on to a lead against Chelsea. He is a disgrace. Look at the results. Like Pat said, we've lost 7 games. I called this out against Arsenal, and everyone was laughing at me saying, you're not a Tottenham fan, Henry talks Arsenal, but no one's laughing now, are they? Nigel Farage said it. No one is laughing now. We are shambolic.
Big up Farage. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
Right now, look at we've got Liverpool, we've got Man United, we've got Forest away. We carry on. I'm not exaggerating. We will not beat Southampton. There's no confidence in this team. 1 minute Kulu starts in the 10, 1 minute it's Maddison. I get rotations important, but I pull Merson coming out.
You'll beat Southampton, H. They literally gift goals, bro, and you press well.
Yes. So do we, mate. So do we.
Yeah, it's true. It'd be funny, but come on.
We're 2-0 up, and we can see 4.
Ipswich, bro. Come on.
Bro, we're Robin Hood, mate, at the Premier League. We give them to the poor, obviously not Chelsea, but Palace and Ipswich, and then we somehow beat City and United. How does the same
listen, I will say this, I'm enjoying your rant, but you've got to stop putting United in that when you played us and beat us, we were dog breath, bruv. Like we were dog breath. We're not a big team on that day. We were awful on that day.
Yeah, but to us,
and in fairness, when you beat Villa, they were in the middle of their run of 8 games, no win. And when you beat City, they're in the worst run of their club. They're still in the worst run their club has had in 30 years. So even the big teams you've beaten, contextually, when you look at it, they were all in absolute shit moments. Like I'm telling you now.
I give him something, Terry.
Look at our away form this season,
just hold on to something at least. The poor boy is very broken.
Look at our away form. Look at Arsenal, right? The Arsenal turned up with one of the worst performances and still got 3 points against us, right? We couldn't beat Leicester at the King Power the first game of the season. We should have been 4-0 in 20 minutes. Roma, Kone completely controlled that game against us, and we were lucky. Osimhen had 8 shots. Osimhen had more shots than we did. Like this isn't the last month. I said this. When was the Arsenal game? That was early September. I said it is going to go down, and he will get sacked before Christmas. I can show you the clip. He will not be here come Christmas because none of the players are playing for him. Their tactics are absolutely abysmal. Right? Take nothing away from Chelsea because the 4-3 is a very flattering scoreline because Palmer had 3 times in the box. The ball just didn't fall to him. If that falls right to him, it's in the back of the net. The composure from that set. Well, I'll get into him in a minute. Son through on goal, right? Just puts it wild. We know that's what Son's so great at, but there's nothing going right for us. We've got no Vicario until February. We rushed Van der Ven and Romero back. They're both now made of glass. Right? And apparently one of the players today said that he will resign if Ange Postecoglou gets sacked. Well, that's Coote Romero because we all saw his tweet last night. We'll see you later then. You can fuck off as well. Right, see you later. I can't, right?
What? Sorry, what did he say? What did he say? Who said what?
So Spurs Express is I don't know if you follow them. They're
Yeah,
very
I know what they
popular
are.
account.
Yeah.
And Coote Romero retweeted something last night, which was then deleted 25 minutes later, that essentially said, if it was basically a quote from him 3 months ago saying that Ange Postecoglou needs to be backed and there will be uproar if he is sacked. He retweeted it 25 minutes later. He deleted it. Pedro Porro's deleted his Twitter. This fucking fraud, mate. Pedro Porro retweeted a stats page from Squawk or whatever they're called, saying he's had the most goal contributions since February 2023. Read the fucking room, mate. We've just been battered at home when you're talking about your own individual stats. Read the room. And now because he's got a pile-on from our fan base, he's deleted. I don't think the pile-on is justified, but read the room. And now he's deleted his socials. Just like when the fans got on Brennan Johnson, he deleted his socials. You've got to understand, fans are paying thousands and thousands of pounds. They travel down to Bournemouth. There's no direct train back to London. And you serve up that absolute bunch of turd. That performance against Bournemouth was absolutely embarrassing. It was a training session for Semenyo, for Cliver, for Evan Nilsson in the final third. And you watch. He'll probably get sacked before Christmas. We'll bring in probably Silva from Fulham or Thomas Frank. There'll be a bit of a new manager bounce. We might even beat Man United in the cup. Come to the January window when we all know we need major bloody heart surgery. We'll end up going, nah, there's a new rib cage. We never do what's required. We open up a catalogue and the first thing we see, we buy. £150 million on Brennan Johnson, Richarlison. You know, Solanke, we barely create any chances for him. He's the only one yesterday that can come off of his head held high. The hold-up play, mate, it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Henry, I don't think he'll be sacked before Christmas, though. I don't think that he will, because Daniel Levy knows if he sacks him, that's another failed manager. That's what? How many managers in 20 years that he's got rid of within, like you said,
that'd be the 15th manager.
Yeah, there you go.
Here 5 years, bearing in mind.
I think he's got to hold on to him, and that's the only reason why I'm saying don't sack him. You got to see it out and see if somehow he can get better. Somehow he can.
At what point,
wake
Pat,
up?
We're 11th, right?
Yeah,
we got Man United, Liverpool. At what point, if we're 14th come January, like I'm sorry, no one can tell me that Fulham and Bournemouth have got better squads than us.
But what's the point of, like, there's no point of trying to sack a manager to hopefully get into the top four, because when we get into the top four, we don't do nothing with it.
It's not about that. Pat, it's not even about that. It's about having an organised back four.
I hear that.
We're bloody more open than Ashford fucking wet. We are spread wide. Our back line is non-existent, mate. It's non-existent.
It's mental. Like the way Chelsea
That's a red card. That's a red card.
Yeah. You got to take us. You got to throw him in the sin bin.
Yeah. We'll red card him right now.
Honestly, I've had enough of this. It's rinse, cycle, repeat. We're the same. We're in a washing machine going round and round and round and round in circles. And the ticket prices will go up. There'll be more kits launched than bloody Sports Direct on Black Friday. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
That's the thing. The football's secondary or thirdary here, and that's the problem. And this is why, 10 years ago, I was saying Levy out, and so many people are now cottoned onto it. The guy's not about football whatsoever. And like Henry alluded to earlier, he doesn't actually back the manager properly. Like in the summer, we were screaming for 3 ready-made starters to come into that first 11 and actually propel us. All we got is Dominic Solanke. Other than that, we brought in Wilson Odegaard. He's 19, unproven from Burnley. We brought in Lucas Bergvall, another essential talent, but we need talent right now.
Patrick, can you leave us some punches for ourselves? Can you leave us some punches at least?
Archie Gray,
you want to at
19 years
least
old.
throw some blows. I
gotta say it how it is, man. Like it's a shambles.
Pat,
you're stealing all our material, bro.
It's mad.
Before everyone else comes in,
this is real therapy, bro. Right now, you know what I mean. I love it. Keep it going.
If we're 11th, at what point do we have to say that enough is enough? Like, you cannot tell me Silva at Fulham, Bournemouth with Iriola, and Thomas Frank have better squads than us. The problem is they're just
Henry,
more
they're
organised.
better managers. No, they've got better managers. And this was my point of why, when he was appointed, I said it was a bad appointment, because the guy's untested and unproven at the top level. And now you can see he's getting found out. Any manager that's got anything about him knows how. I mean, we're so easy to play against because we play the same way every single game. Like, there's no difference in how we play. Regardless if we're playing Fulham, Crystal Palace, or Chelsea, United, we just set up the same way. We're so easy. One ball over the top, and all you've got is the talented player running 1v1 against Pedro Porro or Destiny Adoji.
That's
mental.
Exactly.
I am going to throw this to the rest of the panel in a minute. What I will say is, I think there are problems with Big Ange, and we've all been talking about it for over 12 months. And there's been times where I've seen him adapt and maybe drop the line a little deeper. This game against City, he became really compact and hard to beat, and he got praised for that. But this kind of, I think that Jamie Carragher's analogy made so much sense last night. Yes, your favorite clothes might be a Hawaiian shirt and shorts with flip-flops, but there's certain times of the year where if you wear that, you're in trouble. You know, if it's raining and snowing and you've got to learn to adapt. And I think that's one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue with Big Ange, is he wants to do it one way. But I still look at your board for that, because your board have made that appointment. They have done their due diligence. The board, I said it to Chelsea fans last night, they were praising Maresca and praising the squad, rightfully so. But you really need to be looking at the people that have made the decisions that have got your club into this position. It's the sporting directors and the boards, in my opinion, that control this element of a football club. Because if Levy and Co said, we don't want us to be, one shape fits all. You have to be adaptive. You have to do X, Y, and Z. Well, if a Big Ange says, I don't want the job or I leave, or he adapts, it's almost this notion of just letting a manager go on, mate, do what you want in that role. Man United did it for 11 years, and it's put us in this dreadful position we're in now, where we're trying to undo 11 years of malpractice. You can't just let a manager or a head coach do exactly what they want in terms of the club's philosophy. There has to be somebody controlling it that says, no, we want to play attacking football, but we need balance. We need you to, you can't have a high line on the halfway line when you have two men sent off. You can't be 2-0 up against Chelsea and then be wide open like a basketball match. These things need to be addressed and not just reactively. This shouldn't be happening. And so I concur with the criticism of Big Ange, but I think Spurs fans have to look at who is fucking allowing him to operate in this way, because that, in my opinion, is the point. And look, I'm only keeping the same energy I do for my club. Equally, when I praise City, when I praise Liverpool, when I praise what Chelsea are doing, I also look at the board and the sporting directors, and I'm so intrigued by that. And it's why the mainstream media piss me off, just to slightly kind of move away from this, and we'll come back to it, is they have all the access that we would love as fan channels to sit down with clubs and ask, why this change of direction? What's the messaging like? How have you selected the new manager? How do they work alongside your sporting director? I'd love more information to come out of these football clubs to educate us more. But all we ever hear is manager good, manager bad. Sack manager, get better. Keep manager, will get worse, or whatever. And I don't think it's that basic. I think there's far more to it than that. And I think that's why Spurs fans need to temper themselves with sacking Big Ange may be the correct decision, but the idea that sacking him is going to dramatically improve you over the medium to long term without the fundamental change of how your club is run, that for me is a delusional thought process to have. It really is. You guys need seismic change at board level, cultural level, and behavioural level.
He doesn't want change. The stadium generates more money on a match day than any. I think the only team, I saw it earlier on Twitter, is Real Madrid that earn more on a match day. We're taking 1.25 million a match day. Why on earth would he change things? The club's going to get handed down to his daughter or son in about 20 years. This has been happening since 2001. We've won one League Cup. The club have done an unbelievable job in infrastructure, the training ground, the stadium. It's a state of the art, but it's not a football club anymore. It's a brand.
Yo, Henry, we need to do what they do in Portugal or Spain. We need to turn into ultras. We need to run him out of here.
We try to.
That's the only way.
Outside the ground of a merchandise bag and a guitar.
A lot of Tottenham fans are predominantly from London, so they're not going to do that.
We have to throw the balaclavas on. We have to throw the balaclavas, get the baseball bats out. We need to run him out the ends.
Daniel Levy is crazy.
No London club fan base are doing that. None of them.
Wait, Patrick, can you read your tweet again? Can you just read it for me, just very quickly?
The one I put out?
Yeah, the one that you put out when Ange was appointed.
Yeah, the one that, you remember, I got a lot of heat for this. It says, so disappointing, so underwhelming, so uninspiring, so Brentford, Crystal Palace or Fulham FC. And before you tell me to back the manager, that goes without saying. I always want what's best for my club. Hence why I'm so disappointed with this C-class gaffer. That's
You know what's so funny? 2 out of those 3 teams are above Spurs right now.
I know it's that's
2
what
out
I'm
of
saying,
3 of the teams he said were acting like are doing better than him.
Mate, and we've been beaten by Palace.
Yeah, that's
we've
crazy.
been beaten
That's
by
mad.
Fulham.
Ipswich.
Yeah, I mean it's
like, again. Like, I know we all love to banter Spurs, but you like a couple of weeks ago on the top 6 when Spurs were playing Ipswich, and the record was they conceded the most goals, and they haven't won away all season. And I said with chest, they're gonna beat you. It's not even a
we call that Dr. Tottenham. Now the Tottenham fans actually call that a thing. It's actually a thing. It's mad.
Like every fan base feels like they give other teams hope. But I genuinely feel like the worst team for giving people hope is Spurs. Because at 2-1 yesterday, I said we'd won. As soon as we scored 1 goal, I was like,
as soon as Sancho scored that, I knew he was in trouble.
Yeah.
Bro, when we went 2-0 down,
you blame Ange for that Sancho goal, though. You blame Ange for that. That's the players, bro.
No, it was
Sancho goal. Maybe everything else that transpired, but the Sancho goal.
Couldn't it? It goes back to basics. If Ange actually sets the midfield up properly, you don't see Sancho in acres of space. I can't remember a game in my life where Sancho's had that much time and that much space. And he's a very good player. Of course, he's gonna sooner or later pick the right option or slot the ball away. And don't get me wrong, that was a fantastic finish. He put that the only place the keeper couldn't get it. But how many times was Cole Palmer in acres of space? One of the best players in the world right now. Sooner or later, of course, he's going to do what obviously we don't want him to do and damage us. The guy's crazy. And even if you see that, Kunle, and you know that it's happened, react and make changes. Pull someone to the side. Tell one of the players to go down and fake an injury so you can have a tactical timeout. But I've never seen this guy manage a game. Never. As much as you get onto Arteta about the dark arts, or you get onto these guys know how to manage a situation. This guy's awful. He's absolutely shit.
Can I go to the super chat here? I want to throw this out to the panel. It says, criticize Ange all you want, fine and dandy. But you gave away 2 funny penalties when Chelsea was just going away from the box. No manager can sort your club's mentality.
I disagree with that to a degree. Yes, obviously some of the players made silly mistakes, but that's in isolation. We're looking at the whole 15 games, and there's been so many times where Ange has made mistakes and got it wrong. And if you take it back to last year, and I mean, if you look at the stats, and I've got them here as well, funny enough, since the Chelsea game last year,
you came documented today,
yeah, mate. Like, here's what I made earlier. I had to write it all down, man. I had to get it out. So listen to this. From the Chelsea game last year at home to the Chelsea game this year at home, that's 43 games. We've played 43, won 18, drawn 6, lost 19. We've scored 83 goals. We've let in 71 goals. We've made 60 points. Again, that's mid-table form. So it's not just that Chelsea game alone, whoever said that, and respect to you in the comments, but we watch our team week in and week out, obviously home, away, at home. We've seen it, and the guy's just not set up to manage in the Prem. And unless he changes drastically, this team's done for. And of course, like, you know, no Spurs fan is deluded. None of us expect or, think that we should be fighting, winning leagues and this and that. But we're good. We're good enough.
That's a crazy statement.
Most of the Spurs fans, okay, let me
you know one of your Nigerian brothers already.
Yeah, most of the Spurs fans think and know where we're at. But we're definitely better than this. So
speaking of Spurs fans, though, Kunle, I do want to ask, how is my favourite Tottenham Queen doing? Part of course, your channel, bro. Because I didn't see the content yesterday, but I always feel and worry about her at times like this.
Hey, Terry, you should be very worried. I'm not gonna lie, because she was bouncing off the in the studio, 2-0 up. We're the best. This, that. 2-1. Her tone started to change a little bit. At 40, she was sitting on the floor cross-legged at this time. We got very comfortable chairs. In the studio.
It's amazing. Gut feelings, but Henry and Patrick, you play Man United in just over a week, quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup. We ain't in great form either, and we will be moving on, talking about Man United a bit later in the show. But what's your gut saying about that game? Because if he does stay, and it sounds like he's going to stay for a little, it doesn't look like he's going to be sacked between now and then. What's your gut saying ahead of that game? Do you think you'll keep the trophy hunt alive, or do you think Man United, even though we're in bad form with your midfield at the minute and no centre backs, what's your gut saying?
Well, it's 2 weeks' time, isn't it? Is it next?
It's
the
next
19th.
week. Next week.
It's the 19th.
If Ange is the manager, we're going to lose because we're not going to have centre backs. We're going to have we are going to have Davis. No, we're not. We're going to have Dragusin and Gray until the new year. If any manager who's got any ounce of a brain will just think they're fragile. And the other notion is we had Reguilon and Spence both on the bench, and we're bringing on a midfielder to go at right back. Pedro Porro and Udogie are not fit. Udogie's been rushed back from injury. There's already stuff coming out today that he shouldn't be playing. But we have no choice because the resources are 17-year-olds. So Man United 100% will beat us if Ange's the manager. Because if we had another manager, he'd say, just make it incredible. If David Moyes come in, David Moyes would just strew up our back line. I tell you now, David Moyes, I don't want David Moyes, but you know what he's going to do? He's going to make it incredibly hard to beat, and we're a counter-attacking side.
Not a bad shout, Henry. David Moyes is not a bad shout.
Nah,
If we had David Moyes against
David
Man
Moyes
United,
will give you consistency, bro.
But the thing is, if you actually think about
win you a
Spurs,
trophy.
if you look at Spurs in the last 10 or so years, the managers that have done the best for you have been
counter-attacking managers.
yeah, but also those mid-table managers. I always thought Poch, and I think he's proven it since, is a mid-table manager. He went PSG.
I don't want David Moyes, by the way.
Yeah, I think like the current Bournemouth manager would be great for you as an example. I just feel like Spurs need, and let's not dig at your football club in terms of the history of it and the money you make. I'm talking about the mentality of your board, what they're willing to actually spend on quality, the kind of squads they're going to build you, what their ambition looks like. Does that make sense? How they look at the club, how they look at it. You kind of need someone who's also on that sort of level. You know the expression, like mutton dressed as lamb? That's sometimes Spurs. It's like dress to your means, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? You ever seen a guy who shouldn't be wearing skinny jeans, too old, too overweight, the muffin top over the... some people shouldn't wear skinny jeans. Some people shouldn't dress like that. You know, have you ever seen someone wear like a baggy tracksuit and they're really too old? It's like, bro, fucking let it go. There's certain things you don't do in life, right? You know what I'm saying, right? I'm just putting it out there, and I just think Spurs need to do what's right for their club. Mid-table it.
Terry, do you know who the favourite is to take over Postecoglou?
Go on, tell me.
And it's now down at 2.5 to 1.
Go on.
Brendan Rodgers.
Oh my God.
He's your level.
Hey, that's not a bad manager for you.
He's your level.
Brendan Rodgers, Graham Potter.
That is amazing. That would be an amazing
Chelsea manager, eh?
Why not?
He's worked with me something so far.
That's an amazing appointment. Amazing appointment.
Great. You guys just spent 25 minutes 8 Mile in this whole episode of Football Terrace. This in your club, this, that, whatever about. And then we give you a feasible option. You're like, no. Because Henry. Because what that makes me believe is that you're still in the mindset that this top 6, this big club thing is actually part of something to do with Spurs. Once you guys forget that aspect of being a big club, you can rebuild, regroup, and eventually rise up again. But you don't turn your nose at people like even David Moyes. He's won a trophy more recently than you lot, so don't turn your nose at that guy. He could do a job there. I think the issue with Spurs is the expectations are just way too high, which is why you guys are on streams 13 games in, abusing your board, your manager, your this, your that. When that's not what should be going on. Just be patient.
Me and Patrick had an argument in the group chat about them versus Villa. I'm winning. I'm having a great time.
Like, have you met a Villa fan before, David? They know how they have decorum. They know how to
but Villa fans, the thing is with Villa fans are like, I hope we do well, but I know my place. You know what I mean? Like they're not
talking so much shit. I've got bare Villa fans on my Twitter talking the utmost shit. So
what is that? What wrestler is it? What wrestler is it that said beefing me? What wrestler is it that said know your role and shut your goddamn mouth? Is that The Rock? Is it The Rock? Know your role, jabroni. Know your role, jabroni.
You lot are talking shit. Every fan base has fans that will.
Now, be honest with you, Patty. What you guys should go back to. This is what we all want Tottenham to become again. Genuinely, we want you to become that club that discovers the Berbatovs and the Carricks and the Mudriks and the Bales, and then let us buy them. That was when we loved you. That was when we loved you. That was when Tottenham were at their best.
Mudrik.
Mudrik. Did I say Mudrik? Sorry, not Mudrik. I get those two confused all the time. My brain.
You want them to be a fancy Brighton.
You were like the original Brighton.
I think
the original Brighton.
Will.
I genuinely think. I think that Spurs would be way happier if they were Brighton right now. I genuinely
But because of how you guys are like talking about Tottenham, this is why I'm kind of with Patrick in terms of there's no point to sack the manager. You might as well just wait and see what he does because he might win the Carabao Cup.
Keep him.
He might be able to win the Europa League.
Exactly. Well, what does better look like for Tottenham this season?
Well, yeah, exactly. So, like, my thing is,
I
don't think that Tottenham should really care about the league. Like, your expectations should just be finish in the top 8 so you can maybe get into like the conference or Europa again. Because I think that you have a much higher chance of winning one of those competitions. But the cup, that needs to be Tottenham's focus. Like, and if the league suffers, but you guys win a Carabao or FA Cup this season, but then you come like 9th or 10th, I think it's worth it for you guys.
That's exactly what Athletic Bilbao do. Bilbao, no, don't focus on the league. As soon as they get in the Copa del Rey, the mission is to win it.
I agree.
Enough talk about shit, man. Let's talk about Maresca now.
Don, before we carry on, let's not forget Spurs were in the Conference League last year and got knocked out in the group stage. But now we can carry on.
Last year, that was in the COVID year. Let's stop.
Oh, that's in the COVID year.
COVID year, man.
We didn't get to play our last game.
Okay, I get that. We're gonna leave Spurs alone for a bit. We're gonna come back to some super chats a little later about them, so we haven't forgot about your super chats. Don, Chelsea though, 4 points off the top. You battered Tottenham. You're playing beautiful football. You're in a title race. You're proving the likes of Jamie Carragher and the Gal, putting both in the same wrong about how good or bad you're going to be this season.
Kunle's another one.
Kunle, a lot of people wrote you off, but you're flying high right now. You look dangerous. You're in the title race. Break it down.
Yeah. Listen, yesterday, bro, I think that's probably the best Chelsea game I've been to. You know what I mean? It was scenes. Yeah. And even though we went 2-0 down, I was honestly talking to the people around me and we were all saying we're going to come back in this game. And I was actually saying we're going to win this game, right? I had Deji calling me at halftime when it was 2-1. And I said to him, I said, bro, Dej, why are you ringing me off like this as if you've won the game, bro? We're going to win the game. You know what I mean? And I said before the game in my preview, Henry, the only way we lose this game is if our mentality is all over the place. Because our quality right now is a lot better than Spurs. Right, our manager is better than Spurs. Is better than Ange. Our players are better than your players right now. We've got a better squad. We've got a better bench. We've got a better system than you right now. You know what I mean? And in that first 15, 20 minutes, Terry, we struggled to deal with that storm. You know, Cucurella, very amateur, man. You should have put on the right boots in the game. Yeah, it's mad that they scored from 2 slips. He was so clinical. It's like the Man City game. H reminded me of that. How clinical you were for those finishes. I've got to give you credit for the way you pressed us, but. That's a howler to slip like that twice. You know what I mean? But after that, bro, like what Patrick is saying, we kept playing it to our wingers because what happens with Spurs, they like to invert Porro and Udogie into the midfield. And when it allows so much space at the back because you leave your centre-backs there as a 2. And then when you lose the ball, your fullbacks are all running back. Udogie's running from like an 8 position. You've got Porro running from like the 6th position. It's a mess, right? And Sancho just ran into the space and finally he's starting to shoot. That's one thing that Maresca's adding to his game now. He's starting to shoot more because he's not a bad finisher. He just doesn't shoot enough. You know what I'm saying? Second half, he made that tweak. He took off Lavia, put Caicedo back into the midfield. You know, Cucurella was inverting into midfield's overload there as well. He had Gusto right back, which was a lot better in terms of balance because he moved Colwell and Badiashile around as well. Because Badiashile was struggling in the first half. He didn't want to use his right foot. Every time the ball's coming to him, he's not opening up his body, bro. The ball's going off the pitch. You know what I'm saying? Right? Those little tweaks there helped us to be a lot more fluid from the back. We just looked a lot more composed and Spurs weren't pressing us as much. And every time you did, the ball was just going in between the lines. You know what I'm saying? Every single time we just kept playing it in between the lines. And like I said, it felt like when we were attacking you was actually going to score. You know what I'm trying to say? So listen, the penalty that we won, it was good play from Sancho. I thought Sancho was brilliant in this game. The way he played it to Caicedo, the weight of pass was brilliant. You know what I mean? That basically told Caicedo to just run towards the ball and you're going to get clattered there because the defender's not going to get to it. You put it in such a dangerous area, right? Palmer finishes that one, right? And then for the third goal, Enzo Fernandez, go look at the play, how we actually scored that goal. It started all the way from Enzo, linking up with Sancho, right? It goes to Caicedo. Caicedo just skipped past someone, plays it to Palmer. Palmer just manipulated you, man, in the corner. You know what I'm saying? He was dancing with you, man, in the corner, right? Enzo comes out of nowhere, bangs it in. That's so many times this season. I'm now seeing Enzo crash in the box and actually having good end products. Because last year, I used to tell you, Terry, like, Enzo's getting in the right areas. The ball's falling to him, but he's not doing anything with it. You know what I mean? He keeps hitting it, roll Z, roll X, and whatnot. Yesterday, very clinical again on his weaker foot. You know what I'm saying? And then for the fourth goal that we scored, I don't know what the fuck Sar's doing, bro. I honestly don't know what he was doing. Like, it was right next to the away end. And I honestly, I was looking at Taylor and thinking, bro, if you don't give this, I swear down, because you've actually had a decent game, Taylor, for once. You know what I'm saying? If you don't give this penalty, that's a fucking joke. Because that penalty
had a decent game.
Joke.
Are you crazy? Like, Caicedo should have saw red. There's no way that
I think that was a solid yellow. But if it got given as a red, Patrick, let me finish what I'm saying, bro. For me, that was a solid yellow card, right? If it got given as a red, I can't really debate it too much. Some people say red, some will say solid yellow. For me, it was a solid yellow because it wasn't that high and he pulled out ASAP as well. You know what I'm saying, right?
But we've seen so many players. I know, I hear what you're saying, but we've seen so many players get sent off for that. Curtis Jones at our stadium, his tackle was nowhere near as harsh and as ferocious. He got a red. Coote Romero last year against you guys got a red card for a similar tackle. So, like, the context of the Premier League and what they're given, it's a red card. So anyway, gone. But I get it. I get what you're saying, bro, and I can't really argue against it. I'm just saying, for me personally, I'll give that as a solid yellow. But if you're gonna argue as a red, fair enough, innit? You know what I mean? But overall, like I said, bro, we showed mentality in this game. That was the main thing for me. Mentality, we showed quality, we showed tactical nous, especially in that second half. Enzo Fernandez, bro, the way he was just pinging the ball, right? Because the midfield was so congested. Sometimes you just need a player to get the ball and just spray it so it releases pressure off the team. Because if you're trying to pop it into the midfield against Spurs, they're going to win the ball back. Sometimes you just go wide, bro, because like you're saying, there's so much space in the wide areas. You know what I mean? So the main thing that I'm annoyed about is the fact that we conceded 3 goals against Tottenham because it doesn't look good in terms of the scoreline. But overall, bro, we dominated the game. Our patterns of play were a lot better. Yeah, and we were better than you. Let's be real.
Before I go to Kunle and ask him about his thoughts on Chelsea and and the panel's views around them now and moving forward, Will as well that back them very early on. Is that maybe your only concern about title race talk? Is that it's 18 goals now conceded this season, not quite double Liverpool, but not far away from that. You're conceding at the same rate as Man United, who are currently 13th, to put that out. Is that the area that, if you're going to go on to maybe win this title, that you've really got to focus on improving? Yeah, no, for sure, man, for sure. Because once again, Sanchez just giving the ball away. You know what I mean? He's getting pressed, he's kicking it off the pitch. He's just a shambles, man. And like I said, those players shouting at him again, Terry. I tell you week after week when I'm on here, bro, they shout at him. You know what I'm saying? I'm shouting at him as well. And I know he can hear me, bro. Because that stadium was quiet after about 20 minutes. You man was just sitting there, expecting the worst. You know what I'm saying? So you could fucking hear me shouting, yeah? But he's a big hazard because he doesn't allow the centre-backs to feel comfortable on the ball or relaxed, right? Every time they get on the ball, Terry, and they pass it back to him, I'm scared, bro. Because I'm like, what is this guy going to do? What is he going to do? You know what I mean? Put Sanchez with Van Dijk and that in front of him. I promise you, you won't see Van Dijk playing to his best.
He'll be shaky.
He'll be shaky as well.
Yeah, I get
you know what I mean? That's the main issue. We need to drop him, start Jorgensen. People keep saying buying a goalkeeper in January, bro. It's not going to happen. We've just signed Jorgensen. Sanchez is still here. Centre-backs, I don't know what's going to happen there. We're going to have to sell Disasi. I don't think Badiashile is going to get sold. I don't know what we're going to do in January. It's going to be intriguing to see. But defensively, for sure, we need to improve because we're making too many silly mistakes at the back.
To be fair, again, like the defensive system is there because we conceded 2 goals through Cucurella having the wrong boots and then a stupid goal at the end where like we kind of just didn't really. We weren't. The game was done then. The game was done. Yeah. So like the system's there. It's just the individuals are just Every time Sanchez gets that ball, it is. You hope he just kicks it long. It gets to the point where it's like you just hope he kicks it long because it's just too much pressure on everyone else receiving it.
But you don't think that Sanchez kind of gets a little scapegoated? Because I feel like it's a mix of both the goalkeeper and the back line. Because like Levi Caldwell and Badiashile, like they're walking mistakes as well. So I feel like the goalkeeper's not giving them confidence, but then I feel like they're not giving Sanchez confidence either. like because they're all just mistake prone, right? Like
yeah, but
that's kind of how I feel.
The Badiashile and Colwell
any of
problem is that
line.
they're just both left-footed. So like, and Badiashile is especially left-footed. So when you put him on the right, he doesn't know how to switch. You know, when we switched in the second half, we were a lot more. We were a lot better.
I think Sanchez is a problem. I agree with what Will said, though. I think you've got a lot of problems at the back. Levi Colwell as an example. I think it's a really talented centre back. The way Solanke did him yesterday, listen, it was a really good run. But that's because you've got a young centre back who's learning his trade. And this is, you know, you look at Saliba now, how good he is. You talk about a man that's been playing at the highest level for 3 or 4 years, as an example. It takes a long time. And Levi Colwell going out on loan to other clubs that, you know, often sit, you know, more men behind the ball. You don't do as much one-on-one defending outside of being in the top 4, top 5, top 6 club in the Premier League or playing for Real Madrid. And I think it exposes you more. That's the only reason why I wouldn't predict you to win the league from this point. Is I think you look at Badiashile, you look at Dazazi. I don't think Levi is ready yet at the level. I think that, you know, Reece James never being able to stay fit. That's the only reason why I don't think you can go on to win the league from this point. If Jorgensen, I think, is an improvement. If he starts playing in goal and you went out in January and bought a really top-class centre-back, say Mark Gahey comes in and just you become solid at the back and you start conceding, I don't know, on average, you know, half a goal less a game, there's a chance you could go on and win the league. You're only 4 points off the top. I know Liverpool didn't play, but there's genuinely an opportunity there. And that's the one thing I would say. If you're a Liverpool fan, if you're an Arsenal fan chasing them right now, Chelsea's owners will spend in January. Chelsea's owners, I think, will gamble on spending a bit of extra money they maybe weren't expecting to this season because there's an opportunity that maybe not even themselves thought would be there at the beginning of the season. Top 4, maybe potentially not a title race. And I think that's a sobering factor for Chelsea's rivals is they know they're not the completed article, but I think your club is prepared to spend the money to get there. And most of the other sides in England, I don't think, barring maybe Man City, I don't think any other top 6 club is convinced their owners would spend in a January if they're in a title race.
Now, facts, bro. And just to go back a bit for Colwell as well, he's a little bit too reactive at times rather than being proactive there, because a top centre back, an experienced centre back, will smell that danger, will be able to read that situation, because all Johnson can do is whip it across, right? So you got to make sure that you're getting in between the ball and the man, bro. You know what I mean? He was too reactive. By the time the ball came, Solanke's there already, and now he's like, "Yo, what's going on here?" Because his head was too focused on Cucurella slipping. You know what I mean? That's one thing he needs to learn. Get out of your fucking head, bro. I like the fact that he likes to talk to players and shout at them and that, but sometimes it actually ruins his game. You know, he was too busy complaining there at Cucurella. He didn't focus on that moment. You know what I mean? And even for the second goal, like Lavia and Cole, they're just watching Kulu, watching him. And I could see from where I'm watching, Terry, what he's going to do. He took it, you know, as if he's going to go far left, and then he just reverse shot. Top finish from Kulu. But that defending was shocking, man. You know what I'm saying? But I'll be real, the defending has improved because Caicedo's been playing a lot better. You know what I'm saying? Lavia has been good in midfield as well. Enzo's been good off the ball, in all honesty, as well. But the issue that you've got, like you said, is the centre-backs are a little bit inexperienced. And obviously, you've got Sanchez as well. I think Cole and Fofana are getting better by the week. I think that they are getting better. I think Cole's actually helped us improve, ironically, because in the box he's been quite good. But you're always going to get these little moments at times because they're just not at that level. You know what I mean? They're not at that level yet, bro.
Yeah, like, I don't think Chelsea are title contenders, and that's no disrespect to them. But I do think that they're a very, very good team with a massive ceiling. Like yesterday, they battered us. The scoreline, like Henry said, it flattered us. Losing 4-3, if you see it on paper, you're like, oh, maybe that was a tight game, but it wasn't. It could have been 6-7. You know, we were just fortunate that Chelsea didn't really have the execution game tight, like in the last final third. But you look at them and they're definitely a shoe-in for the top 4. They'll probably win the conference. They definitely have the signs of a really good team there. I just think they probably need 1 or 2 better centre-back position. People coming in. And like you said, the goalkeeper is very shaky. But all in all, you're a very good team. And it looks like the players that you've brought in are all, you know, fitting into that system. Then you've got players like Coote coming off the bench. You've got quality, and your manager seems to be, and I dissed him in the summer, so I'll hold that one because I said, championship manager, you know, coming in, what's he going to do? But looking at how he actually adapts in games and how he manages games, he's a good manager, man. You have to give it to him. Like
100%.
at half time, he could see that you needed to tweak that midfield a bit, and he did it. Do you know what I mean? And he switched the centre backs, and then you lot just looked more assertive. And from like the 16th minute onwards, we were just under waves and waves and waves of attack. And sooner or later, you're going to see, and you know, like people say, oh, you know, Basuma, if he didn't give the penalty away, oh, Sarr didn't do that. But when you're constantly defending for 60 minutes, it forces players to make mistakes because you're on the back foot and you're just, your head's all over the place because you're just under wave and wave and wave. And these guys aren't known to defend like that. So I think Chelsea, they outdone us, man. And you can see the difference. And again, it goes back to what I was saying in the summer of 2023, why I didn't want Ange, because he's just not at that level to manage and really get the team to where it needs to be.
Actually, just before I go as well, Terry, because I got to go in a second. Yeah, the game that changed it for me was about Ange, because I was bigging him up, and I was rating the guy at the time.
Yeah, you were. I remember we was having this.
Yeah, but I changed my take on him when we played you, and you had 9 men, and he was still sticking to the high line. That's when I said, yeah, this is a madman, right? Because any normal guy,
here we are, mate.
Any normal guy would drop back, right? Yeah, and be a little bit more condensed. And again, you literally played into our hands, right? Our wingers had so much space. It's annoying because Neto was getting on the ball, but Udogie, to be fair, locked him up. Neto didn't really do much in terms of going past him or getting in the box much. Udogie did him on that side, but Porro struggled with Sancho, man. Sancho was fantastic in this game, bro. Yeah, some United fans were saying he can't do it in the league, bro. So tidy.
That was his best performance in England.
Sancho was man of the match.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, I don't know
who got man of the match on TV. Who got man of the match?
I think Cole Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer.
Yeah,
but for me, like, it was Sancho. Everything that was going positive for Chelsea was coming off of that left side of their attack, and it was because of Sancho. Like, he was putting the ball in dangerous areas. Right, obviously got the first goal to get them back into it. Yeah, I think that was arguably his best game for them. But I think we gotta talk about Enzo Fernandez real quick. This guy is one of the best 8s in the Premier League. I tried to tell you guys, right? You guys laughed at me. It's okay. All you are waking up now. This player is phenomenal. I don't think he has that many weaknesses. And I think that Maresca is now employing a system that does get the better parts of his game out of him. I'm telling you, Chelsea guys, I do not think that Enzo stays at Chelsea for long, bro. There's a certain club that need to
replace him.
Will.
Why are you always overdoing this, Enzo?
No, but Will,
he's him.
He's had a couple good games.
No. What he's trying to do, you know what it is? Coote, do you know what he's trying to do? I clocked him. And I like what you're doing, Will, because do you know what? Fair enough, because you were telling these lot we've got the best midfield when they weren't hearing it. They weren't hearing it before. And I was in the chat. I was in the chat agreeing with you that we do have the best midfield in the league, right? And people were looking at it on paper before, but now you're actually seeing it, bro. Right? I don't see a better midfield than what we've got with the players that we've got. How we're playing through the midfield. I'm sorry.
What is that 3? Don, what is that 3?
I don't know about that.
Who's that midfield 3 for you?
For me, it would be Caicedo, like the box. So when we play Caicedo inverting, so Caicedo, Lavia, Enzo Fernandez, and Palmer, right? That is what creates our best midfield.
Because Caicedo plays at right back and then comes into the midfield.
But we saw what happened when he played at right back yesterday. You guys had to make the change to win the game. So is that something that
but I think that was a tactical thing, and Lavia was on a yellow card as well. He got booked early. And apparently he had a little hamstring niggle. I don't know, innit? But that's what's going around at the minute. But bro, Lavia, Caicedo, Palmer, Enzo, bro, what other midfield they bringing to me that's better than that right now?
Arsenal have a better midfield. Liverpool have
a
better
midfield.
Bro.
Arsenal have a better midfield than Chelsea.
Guys, hang on, guys. Let's try and have a grown-up conversation. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. Patrick, explain, before everyone jumps on him, the best questions on point YouTube tutorial here. Don't jump on and go, no, you're wrong. Say, expand on that and break it down for me, Patrick.
Like, if you just
put him on the spot and make him explain it. That's how you do YouTube, baby. Go on, Patty.
For the last 2 years, Arsenal have been serious contenders in the league. And obviously, one of the main reasons is the midfield. It's solid. They defend well. They don't concede many goals and chances. And obviously, they score a lot of goals. When you look at their midfield, Declan Rice, Odegaard, and whoever it is in terms of that's a solid midfield. Obviously, Manchester City have had their troubles, but there's no way you're telling me your midfield is better than theirs, even right now. And then Liverpool right now as well. Look at their midfield. Look at the options they've got. So I know, obviously, yeah, you're doing well and you're a good team, but you don't have a better midfield than the three.
You
know what it is?
Just to break it down.
And this is what.
Let me ask you some questions, Patrick. Let me ask you some questions.
Quickly, Don. Quickly, before he comes in, because I know what Will's going to try and do now. Because what you're going to do is player for player.
Yes,
we've seen these other midfields perform for the last 2 years, so we know
exactly.
What to expect.
That's my point.
We're not going off our 4 because they've got these attributes and they played 6 good games. That means they're a better midfielder. Football doesn't work
let me
like
ask
that,
my question, bro.
It doesn't. The way you are answering. Fair enough. But I see you doing the same thing. But go ahead.
All right. So then,
cool.
Because you definitely can do player for player, right? I think individual quality is what makes people say that somebody's better than the other.
Well, you can do that, but you've also got to look at how they perform as a unit.
And they're performing well as a unit, bro. They're showing you. They're showing the vision.
Yeah, they now have structure, and now you see them playing better as a unit.
Like, I'm sorry, Patrick, you're not going to tell me that Declan Rice is a better 8 than Enzo Fernandez, bro. Right? But you're not going to tell me that. Because every single time I ask people, what does Rice do as an 8? They run straight to, he's got legs. I used to hear this about Gallagher, right? They never told me about... No, hold on, let me finish, bro.
Is he a hybrid?
Let me finish, Patrick. They never told me about what he does to create. They never told me about him crashing the box. They never told me about him linking up with the attack. It's always he's just got legs, right? And then you've got Caicedo right now. What, you're telling me you're going to take Partey over Caicedo right now, bro? You know what I mean? You're telling me Odegaard's better than Palmer right now, bro? Yes. Let's not do this, my brother. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Let's not do this, my brother. Our midfield is better than them.
Okay, guys. So, guys, we could argue all day about this, and I like it. However, I'm going to throw this out to you all now, and I want the 4 people in this debate. Me, David, and Henry are going to sit back and chill. So, everyone who thinks, the gentlemen in the panel who think, and the viewers who think that Chelsea's midfield is better, and I think we have to. You could argue as individuals, yes, but that's not how teams succeed. If Chelsea's midfield is better or Arsenal's, where are we going to see the proof? Outside of just stats, where are we going to see the proof? Is it the league position? Is it going to be when the 2 teams play each other, who dominates the ball the most, which midfield creates the most? What's the data? What's the evidence? What are the facts that we can all go to prove this point? Because there has to be, it can't just be an opinion. There has to be something. So, for instance, I would say the team with the best attack by the end of the season would have scored the most amount of goals and has the most amount of assists as a collective, right? You could argue that. The best defense, that's a fucking easy one, right? Liverpool's, it concedes the least amount of goals, right? How do you guys want to determine between now and the end of the campaign who's got the best midfield? What's the metric we're going to go by? Where objectively at the end of it, we can go, I was wrong, Chelsea's is better, or I was wrong, Arsenal's is better. What's the proof?
Terry,
what would you use as proof to your point?
But Terry, there's multiple factors you can look at, though. You're not going to just look at one thing. You're not going to look at one metric. You're not going to just look at goals.
I didn't say one metric. I didn't say one metric, did I?
So many things you're looking at.
Yeah, okay. So hang on. Sorry, Kinley. So cool. I agree. It isn't just pass completion. It isn't just interception rates. But what are those metrics that we can all look at and go, right, this is going to prove, based on your debate, because you 4 get to frame it. We'll use your framing, and then we'll use your lot. Like, recently, we've been talking about title races. Me and David see title races differently. I see it as a whole season-long race, beginning, middle, end. David sees it as like like Formula One, like a qualifier in the first 2/3 of a season, and then the actual race in the final third. So we both see title races differently, but we've determined that. What we need to decide here is, what do you all agree on to measure the midfield so we can conclude who's right and wrong? There must be a way of doing that.
Like, there's so many different things that are in the midfield, though. So it's not like defense or it's not like attack where you're looking at one aspect. So it's like, how do you really have a metric to say this midfield is better other than your eye test? Like, really?
Hang on. So we're saying that with teams we have the league and trophies. Defense and goalkeepers, we have save rate, tackle rates, goals conceded. Attacks, you have creativity and goals being scored. Are we saying there are no metrics in football to determine who the better midfielders are?
But I look at every midfielder differently, though. It all depends on what your role is supposed to be. Like I've said, Declan Rice, for me, does not do enough offensively on the ball, right? You could talk about his dead ball situations where he can whip in the ball. Okay. No, hold on, bro. Let me finish what I'm saying, yeah? Declan Rice on the ball, for me, offensively, doesn't offer the creativity you need in that role. You play someone like a Nwaneri in that position, you'll get more out of him. You play Smith Rowe there, you get more out of him. Yeah, you play João Felix there, you get more out of him, right? Yes, I know he runs off the ball. And he hold on, Kule. Yes, I know he runs off the ball, helps you win the ball back. But I'm saying in that role, as an 8 for me, the first thing I want to be looking at is what are you doing for me offensively? And for me, Enzo offensively is better than Declan Rice, right? Caicedo defensively has been fantastic this season, bro. Yeah, Partey's been good this season. Bro.
So Don, on your point,
there's certain things I'm looking at, bro.
So on your point, I agree. So when you're comparing Rice to Enzo, you'll say this is what I think a better 8 is, but we're not doing it on individuals. We're doing it as a collective. So for me, what we should be looking at is you look between now and the end of the season, which team dominates the majority of the ball. I think that's an area. Midfield is what normally dictates that. You look at the collective midfield.
Not necessarily. If you're playing the ball,
hang on. But we have to agree to something because we've got to end the debate one day, right? So we haven't got to finalize it now. What I'm saying is it could be, and I'm throwing out examples. You look at the overall team's possession stats. You look at the collective level of dual successions in the middle, interceptions, which are based on defensive attributes. Maybe you look at how often the midfield is getting bypassed and dribbled at. Then you can start looking at the midfield collectively for chances created, goals being scored, as an example, passes that break the line into the final third, right? There has to be, and again, not individually, but you look at it as a collective. And then at the end of the season, we look at it and go, well, actually, out of the 10 metrics that you 4 agreed on, Chelsea are better on 8 out of 10. Therefore, that is conclusive, along with the eye test to say it's better. I think, and this goes for in these debates all the time, people don't want to nail to the mast what makes a midfielder better because they're maybe just a little bit worried that the facts won't back up the eye test here.
No, wait,
I will put it this way. I will put the debate this way. Will and Don, you can decide on the metrics that will decide the outcome.
But my metric is my eye test. You're trying to give me college homework.
We can't check your eyes, bro. We can't check your eyes.
Not good enough.
This is what he wants us to go to the numbers first instead of going to our eyes first.
That isn't what I said. That isn't what I said,
bro. That's not what he said.
Hang on. Let me respond to that, Don. I don't, Don. If you, for instance, say, let's just look at 2 individuals. Say you compare Caicedo to Thomas Partey, and say Caicedo is better in the duels, okay? But then by the end of the season, Thomas Partey wins 30% more of his ground duels and 20% more of his aerial duels. Your eye test doesn't match the facts. So the point I'm making is, I agree that your eye test can tell you. I prefer to watch on the ball Enzo Fernandez to Declan Rice. I do. I think he looks better on the ball. I agree with that 100%. However, you have to be able to back your claim with facts. I can't say my eyes tell me that Bruno Fernandez creates more than KDB, and then the facts show he doesn't. I can't say Haaland's a better finisher than Mo Salah if Mo Salah scores 15 more goals and has a higher conversion rate than him. My eye test is wrong.
I've already told you. If you're playing in that 8 position, for example, Enzo and Declan Rice, If you're playing in that 8 position, create some chances for me. Get some assists on the board. Score me some goals, right? And I need to see things in open play as well.
Didn't Rice do all of those things, bro? Last season.
Yeah.
Again, bro?
I think it's quite...
assists.
Bro, yeah, I think it's quite
I've actually got a cut. I'm even here a bit later.
Based on what you just said, Rice did all of those things last season. So we're based on what you just said. So
no, but Don's point is that if Rice doesn't contribute enough in open play, like into the final third, his eyes can tell him that. But Terry's point is that there should be a statistical analysis that tells us that that's true. Because if he doesn't provide enough in the final third, then surely Enzo Fernandez would have more passes into the final third.
Terry, I'm not going to lie.
Or more dangerous.
But you also have to factor in.
No, the reality is, Terry, the only way this works.
Sorry, guys. No. But what you just said there is part of the conversation of deciding the metric. I absolutely agree. You have to look at who played the most minutes, but then you have to look at why. So, for instance, say Enzo Fernandez between now and the end of the season is fit and available, but Declan Rice plays 1,000 more minutes. There's a chance that Declan Rice might have lower percentages in certain elements because he's contested more duels. But then you have to ask a question, well, why has he played more minutes? Well, that would suggest he's better, potentially, right? I'm not saying it does mean that, but this is why you have a conversation. I think the idea of having a debate and just saying, I don't care about any stats or facts. I'm just going with my eye test.
I don't think anyone said that, no.
No,
I don't think anyone said that. I've suggested how you're trying to quantify it.
No, I haven't said anything. No, I have. No, it's not. No, Don, that's bullshit. Don, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Don, that's bullshit. Do you know why it's bullshit? Because I haven't tried to quantify it. I've said you can go away and find the metrics. How's that bullshit?
And I've told you some of the metrics, bro. I've told you some of the metrics.
And I haven't disagreed. So what are you talking about?
Well, fair enough. Then. I
say, Don, you go find the metrics, and then you go, Terry wants the metrics to be bullshit. Me.
Look, I think if we had to ask everybody right now which midfield they would rather have, right? Would you rather have Enzo, Caicedo, and Palmer, or Odegaard, Rice, and Partey? I think an overwhelming amount of people would take Chelsea's midfield. Like,
what about Liverpool? Why are we just talking about Arsenal? There's Liverpool, there's Man
Well, that was the question. Was Arsenal's?
No. It was the best midfield in the league. It was the best midfield in the league.
Let's move on to them. I don't think I gotta go. But before I go, yeah, I don't think Gravenberch, McAllister, and Jones is a better midfield than us.
Oh, come on. What are we doing?
Man City right now haven't got Rodri. Man City haven't got Rodri. They're literally being
on. Just let me right? You would take
you're so inconsistent here, bro.
And McAllister.
This is mad.
Bro, Gravenberch and Caicedo have been the best midfielders in the league this season, right? But McAllister's not been as good as Enzo Fernandez this season, bro.
I'll give you a Palmer starts, right?
Enzo Fernandez has been good for like over a month, bro. He's been good for a minute.
Palmer starts, right? Regardless of who the other two centre mids is. I think Palmer starts. I would take Palmer over Odegaard. But Gravenberch to me has been clear of
Caicedo?
No,
so Gravenberch
Lavia. I think based on that, I would take Caicedo, Gravenberch, and Palmer.
So that means Chelsea have a better midfield.
That means they're taking two more players.
Yes, that means you're taking Chelsea's midfield.
Guys. This is again, and I agree. Listen, I take quite a lot of. I like Chelsea's midfield. I'm not even saying they're bad. I'm saying that all of this though is subjective, and I think in any healthy debate, you have to apply an objective element to it to prove it, because the league is based on objectivity. It's based on a league table, which has loads of different metrics in it, like goals scored, goals conceded, points gained, and everything else. And it decides who the best of the worst is. And I think that if you're unwilling to allow any element of a debate to become objective, that tells me you're maybe a little bit fearful that your eye test, you might be a little bit blind, a little partially sighted maybe. I actually think there's a good chance that Chelsea's midfield could come out on top, by the way. I made sure I waited till now before I said that, because I wanted to have the conversation first. But viewers, look, give us your thoughts and your feelings. I want to move on to a few other subjects. Sorry, guys. A few super chats here. Ronin says, Enzo is separated now. New something bounce. Stay up, Kings. New pussy bounce. Oh, new pussy bounce. Yes. He's separated from his missus. Yes, he's.
Oh, so right.
Yeah, I didn't get it at first. But
every time I see it,
I see Enzo,
we got Ronnie. I always think of Maresca now. I think of Maresca.
Yeah, I hear ya. This here says, top of the league, still ignored. Every fan base says they have the best midfield, best defense, best attack, still below Liverpool. And I think that's a fair point. If Liverpool end the season with their defensive record that's superior and almost as many goals as anybody else, I mean, those two bits of information alone would dictate they have. And normally the best normally the best midfield in the league wins the league as well. So I think there's loads of elements that should go into this debate. It should go into the debate.
Chelsea midfield go to Anfield this season. What happened to them there?
A very close game.
Very close game. Kunle qualifies. By the way, I will say this. All the midfields are really good. That's why when you watch them play each other this season, been really close games. I want to point that out. No one midfield is clear of the other by a country mile. They are very close to one another. Kunle qualifies. Why does Odegaard is better? Why is he better defensively? I think he means than Premier League, because Palmer dwarfs his output and factually creates nearly as much.
I think he's saying qualify why Odegaard is definitely
better. Sorry, that's it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So, I think personally, because Odegaard is a tempo setter. Like he controls the tempo of the game. Like he organizes what the game's outcome is going to be. For me, and he adds assists and goals to the game for me, and he's a leader.
But
So
Palmer
He doesn't do that stuff.
So does Palmer. Palmer's better.
I personally don't think Palmer's a pace setter. He doesn't set the tempo of any game. He scores
the one thing I will say about Palmer,
100%. But as
he's
of
got
now,
that moment in his locker. Odegaard doesn't. Palmer is the only player in the Premier League that would have Panenka a penalty in that moment. Odegaard ain't good.
I disagree. That's rubbish.
No, look, he's the man for the big occasion.
You're 3-2 up against Spurs. There's no.
But he's the man for the big occasion. He's proved that his entire career. Comes off the bench in the Euro final, bags against Spain. Comes off the bench in the.
Hey, can we stop celebrating a goal that was a goal that ended?
I'm not celebrating. I'm just saying Palmer
Can we stop bigging up that goal? Why do we keep talking about a goal in the final that England lost? Why are we bigging that up?
Because Palmer gave him a chance.
The Bayern Munich talk about Basler's goal when Man U beat them 2-1. Like,
you can talk about a moment. You can talk about a moment.
Yeah, talking about. I'm saying he's a big game player.
A moment that led to what? Cheering for the
yeah,
no,
wait, hang on a minute. Couldn't. But the reason why that goal for Palmer is different, and Basler's a great example. But imagine Basler has spent the majority of that Champions League campaign for Bayern Munich on the bench, and imagine he came on when Bayern Munich was struggling and got us back into the game. The argument would be, imagine you started the geezer. If England had started Palmer more at the Euros, we might have gone on to win it. Because whenever he came on, he was stardust. He was absolutely brilliant. So that's why I think that conversation is a little different. But
mind you, Coote, Odegaard can't even qualify for the Euros. All that talent that Norway have, and they sitting at home every single summer.
But Will, the reason why that's such a stupid argument, Will, the reason why that's such a stupid argument is that Arsenal fans always complain about why people don't give them credit even though they haven't won anything. What has all of Odegaard's performances for Arsenal led to? Nothing. They've led to nothing. So why are you coming up Palmer for? So why are you?
All this Chelsea.
Your argument is.
Chelsea have got to the final so far.
Palmer, you said that Palmer's goals haven't led to anything. That's it.
Not recently, anyway.
No. The reason I said that, David, is because people keep bringing it up, which is why I said that. I didn't just out of nowhere say that goal means nothing. People keep bringing up a goal in a game that England lost. I've never seen that until this year.
Because I've never seen that. My argument was,
how many goals get brought up in games that you lost? I've never seen it. If we're gonna big up Palmer, let's big him up properly. Like, for example, yesterday he took what was going on personally, and Spurs are the reason for that. As soon as I saw Palmer when he was taking a corner, and he's like, you could see the villain in him. It's like, okay, all right, wait, and you could just see that with the whole arrogance after that corner when he was getting pelted with loads of things. So he's a baller. I don't debate that. And in the next 18 months, I might be able to comfortably say he's better than Odegaard. But as of now, for me, I can't say that.
So you wouldn't take Cole Palmer right now at Arsenal? Straight up swap. Like Odegaard for Cole Palmer? No, for swap. Definitely. Fair enough.
I can't.
I'd take him at Arsenal, though, as an addition. 100%.
But like not for Odegaard, though.
Nah, not for Odegaard.
Look at that. What is it? It's 50 games, 49 goals and assists, like for Chelsea,
like, in the
Premier League. That is mental. That is like the guy's definitely better than Odegaard. I like Odegaard, don't get me wrong, but to say he's not better than him when you've seen what he does on the pitch, like he controls games.
So you're basing that off what one season?
No, I'm basing it off what I can see. I can see what the guy does for club and country. The guy's a talented player. And he's
no one's debating that he's the talent.
Yeah, but you're saying he's better than Odegaard's talented.
Yeah,
but...
guys, I don't want to. I like the debate. We're just interested in time. We're going to go into some more of these super chats. Sorry, guys. Kunle still piping up after doing TED Talks on how Chelsea's products and players are average. Chelsea fans delusional, only to be behind us in December.
Season ends in May, but yeah, they've definitely impressed me.
If they finish above you as well as Slot does, would you sack the manager? Would you sack Arteta?
You're even adding the Chelsea thing. If Liverpool win this league, sack Arteta, bro. What are you talking about? Talking about Chelsea as well. If Liverpool win this league, sack him. If it happens on match week 33, sack him on that day, please. Okay.
Different team styles have different asks from midfield. This is true, but there has to still be an objective way of deciding who the best is. In my opinion, every debate, there has to be an objective measurement to every debate, in my view. I can't, unless anyone can think of a debate where only opinion matters. It's got to be, there has to be a level of objectivity to every debate. I think maybe. I'm sorry saying Odegaard is better than Palmer. It is just insane, just plain bias from a United fan. But that goes against what that previous super chat said. Like different systems require different needs, because the pressing element, which has done so well for Arsenal, would Cole Palmer be as good at doing that element for a system? Again, that's a question of objectivity.
They don't want to have that conversation, Terry. They don't want to have that conversation.
If Spurs get Thomas Frank, he will get you top 5. Then you could progress to a better manager in the future. There would possibly be 5 teams in the Champions League.
I just want a manager that's organised. Like I just want a manager that when we're 2-0 up actually goes, right, come on, like you come and attack us and we'll just get you on a counter. Because that's what Arteta would have done. That's what Slot would have done. That's what the Maresca would have done. Like Ange is a good manager, but he's just so stubborn and won't get out of his ways. And it's not a match. It's not a match made in heaven, is it? We're currently sitting 11th in the Premier League.
I don't think he's a good manager even. I never thought that, Henry. But the thing is, I just don't see the point of sacking him right now. I think we've got to play the season out and see what happens.
But he's shown him results though, Pat, like beating Villa, beating City.
I know. But I just think that you just can't keep doing this cycle. Like, you got to see this one out. And then if at the end of the season, obviously we're 10th, 11th, whatever it is, and we don't win the trophy, then you get rid of him. And in the summer, you can go after a proper manager. Right now, who are you going to get in? That's my problem.
Would you take Xavi?
Win your first trophy in a while this season?
Take who? Who did you say?
Xavi. He's like 8-1.
He'll never come to Tottenham, especially right now.
It's a payday. Everyone says
guys, we're running out of time. I can't spend time talking on bollocks. We've got to move on.
Came on bollocks.
No, because I'm only saying that because we're running out of time, and I want to get onto what our viewers are saying, because our viewers, I know you panel are great, but my viewers are more important. Came on to talk some shit to some Spurs fans, but now I think he means now I just feel bad. Sorry, I guess. Throwing all that on the pitch was excessive, though. Feel better is what he says here. Waiting for Pat in an Arsenal shirt. Oh, that's never been done, is it, Chatty Patty? You haven't worn the Arsenal shirt yet.
Pat.
I'm still ducking and diving. So yeah.
With Dio, no? With Dio, if we're just.
Yeah. Also, young Daniel hasn't done it, but young Daniel ain't been on the show for weeks either. He's just absolutely.
Also, don't me and Henry have
he's on a gap year, Terry. He's on a gap.
I swear Henry's got to wear Chelsea.
That's depressed him, isn't
it? I swear you got to wear a Chelsea shirt. We had I don't know. I can't remember what the bet was, but
I thought I had to sing something.
Oh,
I don't remember what the bet was.
That's pretty much guaranteed. I might as well sing it next week because
if Chelsea finished above Spurs, you have to sing. I can't remember the song. But
this is why is it? This is why is it not spoken about Palmer not playing in and is well rested in the league. He is performing, but he does that every 3 or 4 days. Basically, why is it not being? Palmer isn't playing 2 games a week. Is it easier for him? I mean, that's also another objective challenge to whose midfield is better. That Chelsea's current midfield is playing 1 game a week versus 2 games a week. But from both sides, I've heard a lot of top midfielders say they feel better, have a better rhythm when they play 2 games per week. So I think with Red Indian, you can play that both ways when you listen to what a lot of the pros have said. I'd love a compilation of all of the things said about Chelsea that turned out to be wrong, from Conference League expulsion to points deductions. I think the problem is when you say you want to speak about all the things that are wrong, is you have to look at them all in context. So I know I've certainly done a number of videos talking about Chelsea's financial issues, talking about Chelsea's. I mean, they're still currently under investigation by the Premier League for potentially cheating when it comes to transfers. So the idea, I mean, they may still get a point deduction because they've grassed themselves up. PSR wise and financially, like the Terrace has always said, and I don't care about contributors on this because they have to answer for themselves. I've always said with Chelsea, I think they've sailed close to the wind on a few occasions, but through the sale of assets, they've found themselves out to be okay. And I've always said if they get back into the top 4, into title races, they're going to be okay because that Champions League money will come back in. Where it could have gone wrong for Chelsea is if they were mid-table again this year and then mid-table again next year. Then financially, they've hit a really, really bad period. But subs, yeah, listen, I think that some people have got lots of predictions wrong. Anyone who thought they were going to be a mid-table team this season was just deluding themselves in my humble opinion. Speaking of being humble, Man United lost at the weekend. In fact, Man United got conceded 3 goals. 2 of them, I'm not going to lie, 2 of the worst mistakes I've ever seen by Man United players in my life. Still don't know what. I think Mark Goldbridge explained it the best about 09. He looked like a man drunk falling over outside a pub for no reason, just fell out of the way of the ball. KJ did try and blame it on the wind, but we wouldn't allow him to do that on the show. He didn't really. He actually said maybe he was trying to judge the ball differently because of the wind and got it wrong. He didn't say the wind was the reason. He still blamed the goalkeeper. And then I still don't, up to this day, understand what Lisandro Martinez was doing. I've watched that goal 100 times, and I know Chris Wood's on good goal-scoring form. But it wasn't a goal-scoring header. It was a good cross, a bang average header that bounced 3 times before going in slow motion. I'm fuming, but it's led to a mad situation for Man United. We've seen Dan Ashworth be fired, which is what we're going to start on. Now already there's fans questioning whether 3 at the back works, talking about we're not winning enough games. But I wanted to start off with the Dan Ashworth situation. A lot of stick for Man United because he has now been sacked. I'm going to throw it out to the panel. Thoughts?
I think it was a good sacking. I think I saw a report saying that he was in disagreement with bringing in Amorim and he wanted Southgate. So off that basis alone, he deserved to be fired. The only problem that I have is...
Could that be PR, though, Will? Could that be PR?
Say it again?
An Arsenal fan asking that question I'm
asking a question. I'm just asking a question.
I have no idea what you just said, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
No, that's it. That the way they let that story come out, could that just be PR? Just so they can
nah, because I remember when you guys first got him, like that was a thing and I think that's why Southgate was, I think, one of the favorites for the job, even before Ten Hag was sacked, was because of the Dan Ashworth connection there. So I believe the report. So for me, I would have sacked him as well. But I think the issue is United probably should have never hired him, and it does look bad considering you guys had to like negotiate, and there was like a little bit of a saga trying to get him out of Newcastle. But I do like, in terms of if you're a United fan, right? I get that this could maybe cause you to be a little bit skeptical about like Ineos, but I do like that Jim Ratcliffe, right? Because I think he made the decision. I like how quickly he acted once he felt like this wasn't going to work anymore. Because I feel like if that was the Glazers still that were doing the footballing operations, they would have just waited and then waited and waited and waited, and then things just wouldn't have worked out. And then now you're making this move, let's say 18 months from now, when the problem could have probably been solved immediately. So, yeah, I don't really see the problem like with that, like at all. I don't think it's going to necessarily affect anything. And again, Southgate's an awful manager. So the fact that if that report's true, that that's who he wanted to be the manager, he should have been sacked before Amorim got in once he suggested it.
One thing I will say is that I got a lot of flack a couple of weeks ago when it was Terry and Staffy on the show, because I said that I think Man United will have to go backwards before they go forwards. And I'm right, because you're going backwards currently. The way that things are going, it just reminds me of us when we brought in, I can't remember the fella's name, from Leipzig, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is the guy. He got this player. He got that player," and then 5 months later, he was gone. So it doesn't shock me. That again, it's a new rebuild. So you're not going to get everything right straight away. You're probably going to sign some really bad players. You probably will. You're probably going to make loads more like mistakes. But that's part of the growing pains of bringing in a brand new regime. So it's not a shock. However, you will go backwards before you.
People don't realise how big of a job that is at Man United. Like that, they're not going to be challenging in 18 months or so. That is the biggest job in the Premier League. And they're going to get a lot of things wrong and they're going to get a lot of things right. But understanding what the actual goal is and how to get to the goal as the best way should be the main objective. But for Dan Ashworth to want Southgate over Amorim, yeah, I agree with Will on this. If that was what he wanted, then yeah, it's best to get rid. But like everyone's saying United have finished. They made 2 mistakes. All right, they've had a bit of a bumpy start. But they haven't exactly had it easy. They're away to Arsenal. Forest are unpredictable. Like, yeah, let's see how they get on in their first January window before we're like, Man United are absolutely finished. Well, they haven't exactly been great for the last decade by their standards, have they? So like,
the reality is though with United, like I don't think them getting rid of him is that big of a deal. They've got their manager in. He's working with the players. I don't think this is going to affect the players in any way, shape, or form. To be honest, and Terry and Double A, they told us that Man U fans are ready for the pain. If that's the case, like that means that there's a high chance you guys finish 9th or 10th this season. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with giving Amarin a chance?
Again, I can only speak for myself, and I will slightly speak for Double A here because he said it live on camera, and I remember him saying it. I am ready for this, and I was maybe a little harsh in what Will was. I think I said it when I went live as soon as the news came out, and I stand by it. I feel that I'm frustrated by the lack of due diligence because I feel that some of the questions that you would be asking of someone, again, and none of us have hired a sporting director. So we are a little bit ignorant to that in the sense of I would be asking for their philosophy on the game, the types of players they like. What do you think of our current manager? A bit like you do in any new job interview. What would be your ideas to, if I'm hiring an editor, I want to see how they edit, ideas they've got for the Football Terrace, how they could make my content better, how they could, make the content more engaging. I would ask a sporting director about their philosophy of football, how they're going to knit the club together and the departments right, how they see football being played, the right way of growing, the medium to long-term goals. One of the questions would be, we know the manager's under pressure. What type of head coach do you think we need, right? And the answers in that interview would dictate whether or not I employed him. So I think there is criticism for Ineos. I think they've got that wrong. The bit I'm frustrated about more than them getting it wrong since the news is the amount of Man United fans who are not prepared for this journey, who honestly, I think thought, well, we've got a sporting director and new head coach. It's going to be okay now. They are not prepared for how hard this is going to be. I look at all of your clubs, not Real Madrid, of course, Will, because you've not been in this situation. You look at what Chelsea have been through since their genuine club rebuild started 2.5 years ago. You look at since the Kroenkes took over, how long and hard it's been. You look at the first 3 or 4 years of Man City, the mistakes they made, the people that came in, the ones that went out, the signings that didn't work, the money they wasted on Robinhos and Joes and players like this, right? That's not a dig. It's the way it was. Everyone goes through teething problems. What I am happy with, on reflection now the news has come out, is that we have cut ties with somebody who very quickly we've seen, do you know what? We've hired him. We wanted him. We thought it would work. It's not going to. Let's move him on. Ed Woodward made mistake after mistake after mistake for 8 years and never lost his job. It would be more damning to have somebody in who's pulling in a different direction. Somebody that sees it differently, who actually, and again, even from Dan Ashworth's point of view, we've all done this, whether it be a job, a friend, a relationship. You've gone, I like this. I saw someone tweet this the other day, and it was basically saying it's like chasing a baddie on Instagram for a year. But when you actually meet them and start going out with them, you realize they're a bit dry and boring and you don't want to be with them anymore. And I kind of laughed. It was a funny analogy, but there's a truth to it. Maybe also Dan Ashworth may have came in and gone, do you know what? I thought I'd love the idea of rebuilding this. Maybe he's turned up and gone, nice people to like, as in individuals to work with, but I can't work with them professionally. And it's the right thing to move on. The problem with this sacking is it's come the day after an embarrassing defeat. And when you add those two things together, it just if we'd have beaten Nottingham Forest and Arsenal this week and then sacked Dan Ashworth, the reaction would be different. And that's but that's also what you would get is fucking hell, beat Arsenal, beat Forest, 1 point off Champions League, and we've got rid of someone who wasn't doing the right thing. We're cooking, bruv. And that's the problem with results-based analysis at this particular stage. I'm also happy that we haven't had a new manager bounce with Amarim and that players aren't running through brick walls in the early stages. I almost like the fact, I don't like losing, but these players are exposing themselves for what's right, what they can do and what they can't do. I didn't predict it would happen against Forest. I didn't predict that Dan Ashworth wouldn't work because I'm not a fortune teller. I get individual match predictions wrong. I might think this player will work and this one will be a flop and it's the other way around. But what I've always known is that over the next 2.5 to 3 years, there's going to be many trials, many tribulations, many ups, many downs. And United fans have got to hold that. We have to develop the thick skin to get through these periods. We've got a massive hole in our ship that could lead to a sinking. And we're trying to fix it whilst we're out in the deep ocean. That's a fucking hard job. You can't take the team away. You can't take it out. You can't take the club away from competing for 2 years and come back after you built a squad and just been playing friendly games. You can't do what a boxer does. I'm going to have a year out the ring and just train, clear my head, train, work on new techniques, come in fresh. You can't do that. You got to keep playing. And it isn't great that it hasn't worked with Dan Ashworth, but the way it's sort of being twisted, and I'm seeing journalists out there, today it's announced that we've cancelled the Christmas party. This is horrendous that we're cancelling Christmas parties. I'll be honest with you, I don't care about any of that. I don't care about the cancelling of a Christmas party any more than I would if we went out and bought a dog and called it, I hope we win. Do you know what I'm saying? All those things
why do we even know that they cancel it? Why? We don't even need to know.
I don't care about any of that. I think it's more bollocks.
If you work for a sports company, things like that happen all the time. It's not again, it's like the Arteta thing with the people stealing things. That happens all the time. It's not really a massive story.
Why do we need to know? You can have about the Christmas party. Anyone? I hope they're doing a Christmas party this year. Has anyone ever said literally?
And it's again. I saw another journalist refer to the Ineos as they're just bullies. They don't want to create a family environment. They're just bullies. And I've DM'd that journalist twice saying, I'm just confused. You haven't delved into why you're saying they're bullies. I want to know if they're doing something that is bullying. I'd like to know about it as a Man United fan. But there's also journalists that they're all community noted. They keep writing this shit about how they're trying to get the tax man to pay for the stadium rebuild, which is a massive fabrication. We're paying for our own new stadium. What we're asking the government to do is pump in money to redevelop the area surrounding it, which is basically they're trying to take money from away from London and put it into Manchester. How can anyone in Manchester have a problem with that? It's what the northern. Do you want to put this out there? It's what the northern parts of the country have been fighting for 4 or 5 decades to get money out of London and spent in the north of the country. Ineos tried to do it, and people go, scumbags. They should use their own money. The question is, hang on, no company should be forced to pump its money into the local development of an area that your government should be pumping money into. It's weird, but there are criticisms to be had, but there's so much fabrication. There's so much overreaction to it. And my only fear, and I heard Mark Goldbridge say this today, and he's right, is that if we don't get a few wins soon, what you will get is the player FC mugs. You'll get the toxic fan mugs. You'll get the individuals that just want attention that will soon start to turn on Amorim. And as soon as that happens, the media pylon will be even more. Doesn't mean we can't circumnavigate our way through it, but essentially the fans, there's already a fire that we're trying to put out. And I just fear that the fans, instead of throwing water or a blanket over the fires, soon are going to start throwing petrol. And as soon as that happens, it becomes 10 times more difficult to fix the situation because the patient wears out. So look, Dan Ashworth being sacked, there's some bad elements to it. There's some positive elements to it. But the meltdown from a lot of Man United fans online, I have to say, has been nothing short of embarrassing, in my opinion. Really, really embarrassing.
But you're a Manchester United fan, though, Terry. So, why should fans not be as upset, or why should they be more patient? I think I know that the manager is just coming in.
There's a big job to do, though, Will.
Of course. But this is the biggest club, arguably, on the planet, right? So I don't think that the fans should be looking at it like, okay, let's just be happy with being shit because this new manager.
But it's not about being happy with being shit. It's the case of, so you've just pointed out you think it's a good thing to sack Dan Ashworth. At the same time, you're saying United fans should be angry. But you've said it's a good thing what they've done. So the point is this. I'm not happy with where we are. But you just said we're the biggest team in England. Therefore, taking it out of 11 years of malpractice, rot, and absolute gross negligence from the owners, it is not a quick fix. And I've known this all along. And do you know how I know it? I'm not special. I don't know more than any other football fan, other than the fact if you read and look at how other giant clubs that have fallen away have rebuilt themselves. If you look at how City have become what they are now, what FSG have done over the last decade or so, what Arsenal started doing 5 years ago. Just look at the recent example of Chelsea and how bad they looked and dysfunctional at the times they looked in the first couple of years. Everyone's been through it. Now, Man United's job, as you've just said, is even bigger. Therefore, it's going to take potentially even longer to fix because the scrutiny is so much higher. The amount of shit Ineos are getting compared to what the Glazers got is night and day. And I still don't quite understand why. Rarely would the media attack the owners. Ineos are trying to get us a new stadium. They're trying to improve things. But because they're making cutbacks here and there, they're getting ridiculed for it, where the Glazers were hemorrhaging billions out the club, putting this into almost financial ruin whilst making millions themselves. And that was ignored by the journalists 9 times out of 10. It's a massive job. I agree that fans shouldn't be happy with where we are, but you have to understand it's going to take a long time to put right.
Yes. But Terry, it could take a while. I'm not saying that Manchester United fans should be expecting to win the league. What I'm saying is, right, I think that the expectations still have to be, we have to win trophies and have a better style of football while also improving. So,
no, I understand that. And
yeah,
listen,
that's kind of like
what I would say about the weekend's game is this: barring those 2 massive mistakes from players that led to goals, I was actually okay with our performance up until the last 20 minutes. And on my match reaction, I criticized Amorim. I think he made the wrong substitutions, and we had the wrong personnel in the wrong places for the last 20 minutes, and we really struggled to create clear-cut chances. Up until that point, I wasn't disappointed in our shape. They had the little 5-minute spell when they went 2-1 up, where Forest looked a little bit dangerous. Outside of that, I've seen people say, 3-4-3 ain't working. Our 3 at the back centre-backs had nothing to do with the goals we conceded. They just didn't.
It genuinely might be the worst goalkeeping mistake in Premier history. Like it's
awful, and you can't. And this is my point, right? So if you look at it as results-based analysis, be angry. Yes, I was angry with the result, but if you break down the performance, if we played that game again today, and both teams performed to the same level again, United are going to win 8 or 9 out of 10 of those matches because we had the majority of the ball, we created the majority of the clear-cut chances. Onana, as bad as the mistake was, isn't going to do that every week. I don't know what Lisandro Martinez was thinking for the second goal, and it changed everything. And I just sort of feel sometimes that fans, yes, be angry, but be angry at the right things. Be frustrated at the correct stuff. And look, Ineos, I know they're not everybody's cup of tea. I've seen people say they're worse than the Glazers. Still makes no sense. The reason they're making all these cutbacks is because of the problems that the Glazers have created. They can't just pay the debts. People keep saying, the Qataris would have paid the debts off. That would have made no difference to us. Okay, the Christmas party might go ahead, but PSR rules state that if the owners pay the debts off themselves, that's all of the profits that come off the back of that get minus an offset against PSR. So we still wouldn't be able to spend more money on transfers. It doesn't matter how rich our owners are. They can't just pay it off and then we go out and spend more. It has to be fixed by the turnover of the football club. Plus, we're also going through a period where PSR and FFP is being scrutinized to such a degree by the Premier League. No, you're not going to get away with things. And this is my issue with a lot of the fans talking about it is they're not reading. They're not listening. Everything going on the pitch, Amorim's told us we're going to go through pain. He says, while we install this system, we are going to break some eggs. I saw people the other day, Gary Neville. I don't know why he's not picking his best 11 yet. He's told us why. He needs to experiment and do pre-season during the season. Okay, today we're up against a low block. I really want to try Rasmus against this low block today. He wasn't great against Arsenal. I know he wasn't, but I want to try him against low blocks. I want to test this theory. The next game, they'll be, why aren't we playing this guy yet? Because he wants to test another player out in another position. What Maresca went through in pre-season and got battered in most games, we haven't got that. And that's the one where I'm criticizing Ineos, and Dan Ashworth has lost his job over this. We should have brought Amorim in the summer and went through this pain in pre-season and the early part of the campaign. That's the mistake, not what Amorim is doing now. But Man United fans are still, in my personal opinion, some of them still believe we're Man United of old, and we're not. Equally, they really do believe it's a quick fix. Sack a manager, bring somebody in new, and we become a better team very quickly, exponentially, week after week. And within 2 months, we're sorted, bruv. It doesn't work. Look at a year ago. Everyone's saying, look how quickly Big Ange has got a style of play. Top of the league after 10 games. That's how quick it should be. Look at them a year later. And Omar Barada said it to the fans, and they seem to fucking be ignoring this. We don't want short-term spikes of success. We want to create something that is long-term, that is consistent. To create something that is meaningful in the long term, it's hard work. Everything in life you can think of, whether it's a great-looking body down to a brilliant career, it's years of hard work to get to that consistency. You can't just do it snapping your fingers overnight. And be frustrated with the things that are wrong, but you have to have patience for them to be resolved. There's no quick fix for Man. And I saw someone say, so I'm going to finish my rant after this. I can't believe we've made certain employees redundant who, by the way, were doing nothing, bringing no money in, saving us no money. They were doing nothing. And yet we're still playing footballers all that money and they're crap. We can't just get rid of the footballers, though. If we make the whole squad redundant, we lose every game anyway. And then it's like you can't. It's just the lack of understanding of what it takes to turn around the juggernaut the size of Man United from where we are is just it's been very eye-opening to me. The lack of people that understand what's going on in the last few days, it's crazy. I've still got a lot of faith that we are likely to end up in a good position in 2 to 3 years' time. Right now, I still have a lot of faith in that. But Man United fans, I feared this and I'm worried about it. There's too many toxic ones who I'm almost convinced they want to foul, so they've got something to moan about. Maybe it makes them feel better about their own life. I don't know, but it's very strange behavior for me.
It's crazy, Terry, because the reality is not many Man United fans are like you. Like you said, you're prepared for the pain. And the thing I appreciate about you is that you called out the bullshit from 3 years ago, regardless of what team it is. So a lot of Man United fans have been dissing other people's rebuilds and projects and stuff like that. So now, rather than accept what the other fan bases were accepting, they've decided to go the toxic route, which is what you were talking about. So just like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, that a higher percentage of your fan base are not ready for the pain it's going to take to actually fix it, which is why things might get a lot worse before they even get better, just like David was saying.
No, mate, I agree. And listen, I know people don't like all the buzzwords and stuff like, and I think Arsenal fans, wound a lot of people up with phases. And I see a lot of people go, what phase is Enzo Maresca in? Well, I don't know, but it's not phase one because rebuilds are not dictated by a managerial or head coach appointment. It's about what the board of directors and the sporting directors and the vision of the club is. FSG, Slot is not in phase one. If we're going to put phases on it, right? You look how long FSG have been there, it's probably something like phase 12, right? It probably is, because it's there. And this is the thing. I've always said this about Arsenal, and I'm consistent. Say Arteta leaves at the end of the season, a new guy comes in. It isn't phase one again. Let's just use the phases because people like to banter them. It's not phase one for the new manager. It's phase 6 of the project. And they've probably got that on paper somewhere internally because you have to have an actual plan that's written down, right? So that you can actually stick to something. Again, if no one's had a really high level job, you won't understand that. The job one of my last jobs I had in Barclays, for each department we worked in, you had to have a full scale business plan for that department that you had to work alongside each year. It wasn't like you run your own business. It was eye-opening to fucking hell. I just thought people at that level turned up to work like the rest of the staff did. No, it was full-on business plans, their own sort of departmentalized trading accounts of the income, expenditure, what you could spend, what you couldn't spend, and you were targeted to grow revenue, make more profits. And sometimes you have to cut back. Sometimes it's like shit. Something else has happened in the company that's going to lead to more money going out. So we've got to find a way of saving money. Do you know what? You're not getting 5 free drinks tokens at the Christmas party this year. It's only going to be 2 because that saves 50 grand. You have to sometimes make these decisions in life and in business. And I just don't think some people comprehend that in any way, shape or form. But it's going to take a long time for Man United to be fixed. United fans, strap yourselves in. I told everyone, sacking Ten Hag, sacking Oli, sacking Jose, sacking LVG. None of those individual actions would fix us because the manager was never the problem. A problem, but never the problem. And the funniest part about it is people are not willing to accept they were wrong about this. Our squads have never been good enough to win league titles. Some of us have believed they have been. No, never been good enough to win league titles. That needs overhaul. We've never been in a situation, maybe Moyes, because we still had a team that won a title. But from about 2015 onwards, we have not been in a position where a better manager, better head coach makes us title contender straight away. We've never been in that position. We're deluded as a collective fan base. We're fucking deluded on this shit. Wake up, smell the fucking coffee, strap yourselves in. It's going to be a hard 2.5 years. Some of you ain't going to make it. Some of you are going to defect or start watching rugby. I'm telling you, some of you ain't built for this. You ever watch The Walking Dead and it gets to 5 or 6 seasons in and you realize the only humans alive are the actual fighters? Everyone else got chomped early, bruv. Do you know what I mean? Everyone got eat by the walkers or the lame brains early. Some of you ain't going to make it. Some of you are not making it out of this. Some of you are food, bruv. Some of you are going to be food to the process. So there we go. And if people think I've got low standards, again, think that. I haven't. I'm not going to be satisfied until we're able to win a Champions League or a Premier League. But I do understand it's going to take time. Baz here says it may have been doomed from the start. They bought too many big guys. all at once with no accountability for each other. Too many cooks. Ideally, Omar comes in, hires a director of football hires a technical director, etc. I agree, Baz, but this also happens. I don't know about any of you. Will, I know what you do work-wise. You must have seen this happen at work, where someone's hired for all the right reasons, but then when they arrive, after a little while, you realize, don't fucking need them. Thought we did. Now they're here, don't really need them.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking. I'm not asking you to tell you on what you do, but all of us on the panel must have experienced that at work. And you're like, don't fucking need them. Why are they here?
Yeah. You know, you see somebody and you're thinking, damn, I wonder what they do. They seem to have a lot of time.
Bro, we're going through it right now. I'm not going to say any names. If you're watching the show, you know who you are, innit?
Terry, you need to watch the dangerous IA, funny as hell, AI. I'll have a little look at that, Andrew. Simply not being the Glazers means a likelihood of success for Man United fans. There's a reason that Bowley and Clearlake have chosen ahead of Radcliffe. Well, look, Radcliffe entered the situation with Chelsea very late and had almost no chance of getting them. And what I did find, I saw a Chelsea fan yesterday saying, thank God we didn't get Ineos and we've got who we have now. I went back and looked. Those same Chelsea fans weren't saying that 7 months ago. They were fuming that they had Clearlake and Todd Bowley. And that's the irony of it. If we win a few games, no one's going to care. This is the thing. If we start winning and win trophies, everyone will say, Amorim, Rashi, Bruno. None of them will say, oh, thank you, Walcott. Thank you, Barada. If it goes wrong, fucking Ineos, scumbags. The energy ain't the same. You won't see that from me. If we win the league in 2 or 3 years' time, before I thank anyone else, it'll be the people running the club. Because I do believe in the modern day game, they are the most important part of any football club. They're the heart. They're the heartbeat. And without it, you're dead, bruv. Terry, who would you want as Ashworth's replacement? I've seen rumors of Ragnick, and I don't really have an answer, Sam. I'm not really that fussed, if I'm being honest. It needs to be somebody that's, got a good pedigree in the sense of Dan Ashworth, by the way, will go on elsewhere and do really well, I think. He has a good pedigree. It doesn't make him bad because he hasn't worked out here. I've seen Campos. I've seen I don't know his name, the Atletico Madrid guy as an example. But remember, if Man United don't get him, he'll be painted out to be amazing. If we do get him, they'll focus on all the mistakes that he's made and go, how dare you hire someone who's made a mistake? Based on that logic, we shouldn't hire anyone, should we? Because you could fight and that's why I don't take it too seriously, because it's always going to be twisted into a negative when it comes to the biggest team in the world, Manchester United. And thank you, Sam, for renewing your membership with us. Thank you. Gents, thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it. Got off my chest. I feel better now.
Didn't even get to speak about Corner FC. Damn.
I know we didn't speak about Arsenal.
What a shame.
What's it? 0.3 XGFC.
And we didn't get to talk about Arsenal, as we said. Guys. You're wrapping up.
I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.